Today, I drove towards the mountains of Virginia to see a house like no other. Monticello, the home of Thomas Jefferson, our third president, founding father, ambassador to France, a real polymath. And just like my van is to me, Monticello was a culmination of all of his arts and design and engineering skills he picked up during the course of his life. He largely built the house himself. I got a special VIP tour today that's taken me through all of the rooms, all of the floors, all of the grounds. I'm going to spend the whole day here. I can't wait. This parking lot is full and it is so tight I would not be able to reverse normally. I got like the only space in this entire parking lot where I can pull out backward up a little road and do a U-turn. That's amazingly good luck. I love it when a day starts like that. Visitor center for this place is like our little shopping mall, but she says that my tour is up these stairs and to the left.
That all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life and liberty.
Monticello means little mountain in Italian, and this is literally on the top of a mountain. It felt like Dracula's castle, taking the tour bus up here from the visitor center. I got here a couple minutes early. They're letting me walk around the gardens a little bit before I go in that thing. The first thing you notice when you enter Monticello is all of Jefferson's collections. He obsessively collected artwork, books, trinkets, curiosities. He was especially proud of his mastodon fossils right there in the reception room. He also had gadgets and gizmos all throughout the house. A polygraph machine so he could write and it would record on like 3 pens at the same time. A barometer, an astrolabe, some vacuum pump, an electrical thing. He also had a lot of gadgets built into the house itself. He had these doors connected by a little bike chain hidden beneath the floor, so you open one door and it would swing multiple at the same time. He designed his bedrooms so he could get off on either side of the bed into essentially different rooms. He had this massive pendulum-based clock that covers the whole face of his house. It ran for an entire week, told everyone what day it is, all that stuff. You know what a clock does, obviously. But to me, the awesome part about his house is how every room is shaped differently and has a different purpose and design, just like Elvis Presley's Graceland. Everyone is different. One had a paint color in yellow that he imported from France for $1 bazillion, and he obviously spent a lot of money on this house. Way too much money, in fact. When he died, his son, who had inherited most of the property, discovered what a pitiful state his finances were in. He owed so much money that the son had to put up for auction everything. The house, everything in the house, the land, and all of Thomas Jefferson's beautiful collections and curiosities. All of it had to be liquidated. It was all gone. A very sad ending. Also, 5 of his 6 male descendants would become leaders in the Confederacy. So Thomas Jefferson was a great man, a polymath, spoke many languages, a pioneer of the Enlightenment and of democracy, all of those things. I highly respect him. Unfortunately, his greatness ended with his generation, for his family anyway. I just got out of the tour. It ran for over 90 minutes. I've got some time to walk around the grounds here. There's interesting stuff outside, and I'm going to walk down the mountain back to the van. Probably the most distinct feature of Monticello from the outside is the hexagonal dome. Jefferson picked up that idea from a trip to Italy. He saw it in a house, and he wanted one in his. After he built it, he discovered that he couldn't do anything with it. It was just uninhabitable. During the summer, it got so hot that guests became sick going in for even a moment. In the winter, it got so cold, and the acoustics of the room were so bad you couldn't even hold a conversation in it. So it was used as an attic to store junk and old furniture pretty much his entire life. Another cool thing in the house was a hidden parlor room attached to that empty dome room that, I don't know, it looked creepy from what I saw. The house is literally the top of a mountain, so all the gardens and plantations around had to be terraced. He had a huge vegetable garden here, and the plantation started as a tobacco plantation until Jefferson discovers that tobacco destroys the earth after 2 seasons, and then you can never grow anything again. He tried switching to other crops after the tobacco fiasco, but never made this place profitable at all. He was reportedly a terrible businessman, and he spent impulsively and obsessively on all of his collections. This right here is the grave of Uriah Levy, who bought the property after Jefferson died. He was a fan of Jefferson and wanted to maintain the property. He actually kept it in his family for almost 100 years before selling it to a preservation trust. Hundreds of slaves worked here at Monticello. They lived in a row of houses here called Mulberry Row. Yes, Jefferson was a slave owner. This was a plantation. He mentioned in the tour that in the original draft of the Declaration of Independence that Jefferson wrote, he included a line calling for the abolition of slavery in the United States. Other delegates said, no, you have to take that out or we're not signing this. So that was a compromise he had to make. Somebody asked a good question. They asked how come Jefferson did not free slaves as part of his will, granting them their freedom. And our tour guide mentioned something interesting. At the time, Virginia had a law that if a slave was freed in Virginia, they had exactly 1 year to get out of Virginia and never come back, or they would be captured and executed. So a lot of the slaves didn't want that freedom because they grew up here, they wanted to stay here, this is where their families were. It was a bad situation, of course. It's hard to reconcile his slave ownership with the man who said that all men are created equal. You know what I mean? This is the ruins of a forge that operated here. They made their own nails here. A lot of the infrastructure has been lost, but it's a miracle that the house itself has been preserved, thanks to that Levy fella. They actually mentioned that they have spent the last 100 years trying to recover all the stuff that used to exist in this beautiful house. A lot of it is recreations. A lot of it they have recovered. Like I said, after Jefferson died, the family had to sell absolutely everything. You can see just how hilly this property was. Jefferson owned all this land, something like 11,000 acres. I'll probably correct myself and put it in the description below. But that over there, it all was terraced. I'm about to stop by his grave, but I just remembered something else the tour guide said about Jefferson's odd character. He spent 40 years designing this house because he went over every detail meticulously. It took him that long to finish the thing, just like my van. It took me, 4 years to bring it to completion. But also, he said that Jefferson only went upstairs in that house twice in his entire life. He lived on the first floor. He went upstairs once because a guest of his became sick, and another time to fix a clock. But in all the decades he lived there, he only went upstairs off the first floor twice. How crazy is that? This is the gravesite of Thomas Jefferson, the epitaph he wrote himself. Notice he doesn't mention anything about being president in his epitaph. This cemetery appears to still be used. A lot of these graves look fairly new. All in all, I love that house. I love the geometric shapes. That would be like a playground. If I ever were to buy a house, I would get something beautiful like that and just have a field day decorating all the rooms. I also really like the landscape here. I mean, this is just nature galore. You're on the top of a mountain, scenic views all around, and the trail back down to the parking lot is actually super nice. Been there, done that, got the t-shirt. This one has a Thomas Jefferson quote on it. It says, "Wine, a necessary of life." All right. I also got a sticker there that I think is quite nice, Monticello. This will look good up in my gallery, but I'm running out of space up there. I kind of want to spend an extra night in town. This is called Charlottesville, I think. Looks pretty cool. UVM is there. But the tour guide mentioned that James Madison's house, Montpelier, which is nearby, is even more spectacular than this. I kind of want to see that too. I feel like it's now or never in my life. I'm not sure what my sleeping options here in Charlottesville are. I'm gonna drive around, I should say, for a little while. I parked near a cluster of hotels in Charlottesville. I'm hoping it works out for tonight. But I noticed there's a sidewalk going from my hotel to this little path that appears to run through a culvert. Check out that graffiti right there. I dig that a lot. But yeah, this is the path. Check this out. We're literally just walking through a culvert. I could probably take Moby Dick down this. I saw a woman popping down here. I thought I'd go check it out. Ooh, looks like I do have to get my feet wet a little. This is kind of like a miniature Hoosic tunnel right here. All right, almost out the other side. This, I think, is the main river that goes through Charlottesville. Or at least a big tributary of it. It's called the Riviana, I believe. And this is the Riviana Trail that I'm on. This and towards the culvert is a little rocky and shallow, but all this is totally Moby Dick worthy. And I saw this little crossing right here. It looks like there's some more abandoned stuff with graffiti on it over there. I kind of want to go check that out. There's a disc golf thing right there now, but that looks like a recent addition. For some reason, there's stairs that go up to this wall right here. I think this is just foundation for the road. That was a disc golf course back there. Disc golf seems like a great sport. Something I would love to get into just to give me an excuse to walk around places like that. What is some good disc golf slang? Let me know in the comments. This town, Charlottesville, just seems to have these trails. I'm on yet more of them. They just kind of crisscross throughout the town, at least the area I am in right now. This goes down to a little piece of the river right here that I kind of want to kayak tomorrow. Check this out. The river is right there that I want to kayak. The highway's right there, and there's just this footpath, not on the maps or anything, and it even gives me some wild blackberries. Oh, and check this out. We're going through yet another one of those culverts right here. At least this one is totally dry. This one has 3 of them. That's kind of interesting. These trails just keep winding throughout this village. I'm not sure how long I want to keep going. It's going to get dark soon. I want to get back to that hotel. But this is Charlottesville. I am liking this a lot. I was actually going to rush to Raleigh tomorrow or maybe even tonight. I'm glad I didn't. I kind of want to stay here a couple of days and explore it more. I want to walk these trails all day long. I'm staying at this little hotel right here. It's like a chain hotel, only $90, not that bad. They take plates and they tow. This whole area seems to be really big on towing. It was this or like drive for an hour to a KOA and spend like slightly less. I'm not gonna stealth camp at any of the big box stores around here. I'm fine with that though, because this is a really cool area. And it's only like a 10-minute drive from the James Madison house, which I've heard is spectacular. I'm going to that first thing in the morning. Now I just gotta pack up just so I can move my body 300 feet. Charlottesville's an adorable little town. I had a great night there last night. It's also near home number 2 of this trip. The 4th president of the United States, James Madison. He was Jefferson's successor and his best friend, apparently. He was also the president during the War of 1812 when D.C. was burned to the ground. His house is called Montpelier. It's also apparently at the top of a mountain, just like Monticello. Madison did not build Montpelier himself, unlike Monticello. He inherited it from his father. One of his earliest memories was moving furniture into the house. It's much more conservatively styled, I would say, on the exterior. I'm eager to get inside. Madison was a huge art collector, just like Jefferson. A lot of landscapes here, Niagara Falls, and portraits of all of his peers and people he respected, including the Marquis de Lafayette, one of his best lifelong friends. They have a dining room set up here with regulars at it, including the Marquis de Lafayette and his wife, Dolly Madison, who sat at one end of the table. She was quite a character. She outlived him by 14 years, I think. It's interesting, this house was originally a duplex. James Madison and Dolly lived on one side and his parents on the other. They only opened up the wall in between after his parents passed. There's beautiful wallpaper throughout this house. I especially loved Madison's bedroom where he passed on June 28th, actually 200 years ago today. His main bedroom upstairs was a beautiful gold color. Lots of gadgets here too, just like Jefferson had barometers all over the place. And apparently Madison had a pet parrot, which was taught French swear words by the Marquis de Lafayette.
Rome, Greece, they have democracies. They failed. Why? Why does every government that humanity tries keep failing? This is what he wants to know.
But my favorite room is the library where the Constitution itself was written. He wrote it right here on this desk. He apparently had thousands of books about government in multiple languages, which he could read and write. About government, about why democracies failed, why empires failed. He obsessed over how to build a strong national government because the Articles of Confederation just wasn't working. And he considers it his proudest achievement. That Constitution was written on this desk right here. And just like Monticello, after Madison died, apparently the family was in a bunch of debt, and his wife could not maintain this huge property, over 4,000 acres. So she sold everything, lived the rest of her life in a tiny apartment in Washington, D.C. The house changed ownership a bunch, but it's been preserved. They show you all the layers of how a house like this was built. It's kind of interesting. That was so cool. I learned so much about the history of this country from the tour guides. Unfortunately, I can't record them, which is why I'm doing this voiceover. But I just left the house. There are a lot of trails here. It's a beautiful day. Such a beautiful property here. I guess Madison loved cooking outside right here in this yard. I also learned that he was a huge chess player, and him and Jefferson would often get together and play chess for like 8 hours at a time without even talking to each other. Absolutely beautiful garden here. Flower garden. I guess Dolly was very much into gardening. They still maintain it. It's beautifully terraced, works with the landscape. I like this flower right here. It smells good. Anyone know what this is? I have a suspicion that both Madison and Jefferson secretly loved the mountains. Both had a spectacular view of the Blue Ridge Mountains right over here when all of their peers settled around DC, the coast. Those Blue Ridge Mountains, Shenandoah is right over there. That was like the first place I used to go to when I started doing road trips. I haven't been there in 10 years. I had been planning on going south to Raleigh, but that's like still another 4 hours. And I've suddenly got a craving for the mountains, some hiking, some waterfalls. I had to make a decision. Go south or go west. I know I said I'd take it easy on the van with this trip, but I just hauled it 3,000 feet up in the air, up to Skyline Drive in Shenandoah National Park. Yup, that means I won't be getting to Raleigh, North Carolina. I suddenly took a detour and realized I need the mountains. I'm also finding Virginia a very beautiful state. I've been here like 4 or 5 days now, and I suddenly want to explore it more, not pass through it. I'm seeing parts of it I've never seen. It's a very regal state, I will say that. It has a little bit of everything, very well-rounded, except for it was a slave state, but, whatever. I'm here to enjoy the mountains. I'm about to go hike to a waterfall. That'll be the next video. Thanks for watching this one. Until then, peace out.